Welcome back to the CheekCast podcast, episode 4. I think we're calling it, Yeah, We're Gamers, What About It? So if you're not a gamer, I mean, you're still welcome, but you're just going to have no fucking idea what we're talking about, at least the majority of the time. So that's on you. Be a gamer. It's not that hard.
Yeah. have you guys ever
It's very inclusive.
did the video games before?
Yeah, you ever did video games? What do you do? I just imagine people who don't play video games just watch Grey's Anatomy and eat popcorn. That's
Hell yeah.
That's
They
all they
probably
do.
think that we go into alleyways and converse with strangers about video games, and other times we did video games.
Meanwhile,
we do.
we sit on Discord, and apparently that's our alley is Discord.
True. Facts.
But yeah, if you're not a gamer, bro, what do you do? I'm okay. You know what? I'm gonna be dead ass. If you don't play video games, what do you do in your free time?
What are you doing with your life?
Not what are you doing with your life? What do you do
Okay.
in your free time? What is it? Just consistent of? Do you listen to the radio? Is
TV.
that something that people do? I know
It's
people
TV.
watch TV.
TV and
But,
movies.
You do anything else? Is that people? Where people
D&D?
tell me, anime, D&D. I still consider you a gamer if you
Weebs.
play D&D though,
True.
because D&D's hardcore.
I
That's
don't
some
know
hardcore.
how people do it. Doing all
I just don't know how you find the
balancing.
time, dude.
Yeah, that's what
Where do you find the
I'm saying.
time to do D&D?
It's because we're actually, in all reality, just absolutely lazy pieces. You know what? Never mind.
Most of
Keep
us
going.
don't know what we're doing as adults, so I don't know how you manage
True.
time.
True.
God forbid balancing a checkbook or something like
I'm
that.
a terrible adult.
Bro, I'm literally getting ready to order food because I don't want to make another sandwich because it's what I have in my house. So that's
Yeah.
what I'm going to do.
I get that.
But that's not our topics today. That's just what I don't think we have that many topics. We're just going to spitball some shit. If we go off topic, we go off topic. You know what you're going to do? Listen anyway. Okay? So at least I hope so.
It's
I
a
hope you
little
make it past this
demanding,
point.
but okay.
You're gonna listen and you're gonna
much.
like it.
You're going to listen, you're going to like it, boy. That just gets you having fun.
Wow.
Moving
Moving on.
You know what I dislike in video games? What I dislike. This isn't a
What
question.
kinds of gears?
Okay. I don't like nostalgia video games.
Yes.
Like when
remakes?
they remade Crash Bandicoot and put that bitch on a Battle.net,
Yes.
right? That game is butt cheeks. You know why it sold? Is because people were like, dude, it's Crash Bandicoot. Same with Spyro.
Yeah.
Like they're remaking Dead Space, but I think they're remaking it entirely. Like remaking that I think would be good. Like a really beloved if they do it properly.
Remaking
but-
it entirely?
Yes, remaking it, like building it again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't like
it's
when they
kinda sad that,
remaster and they're just like more frames. And
yeah,
this
the
scene has
words
been changed a
remaster
little bit.
True.
in the words remake like that. Like it's just like a fancy word for DLC.
Exactly. You could have just made an update to the game and just
Well,
did.
yes
but
and no.
Remaster. I don't understand the difference between remake and remaster.
Remake is like a new game.
If remake is a new game.
Remake
Yeah.
should be.
That's
Now,
what I
okay,
want
so
them to do.
hold on a sec. Hold on. Let's pause there. Because remake is used kind of broadly. Yes, a remaster is typically the original game built with the same framework, but normally updated when it comes to textures, smoothness, frame rate. It's normally more optimized for newer consoles or PC. A remake should be a brand new game, but here's the difference. A remake and a reboot is where the real difference is. A remake is normally the same game exactly. Like what they're doing with Dead Space, it will be the same game. It will be the same game, but it will be built on a new engine. It'll have a lot of the same framework, but it will be new. It will be a very new game, but it will play the same way. It's going to have the same jump scares, it's going to have the same scenes, it's just going to be better. A reboot is where they do something entirely new, like when they did Resident Evil has been rebooted twice now. That's a reboot. Like it's a completely new game and a completely new style, engine, development studio, whatever the case is.
See, a remake for me then is good. When they remake it, if you remake it on a new engine, you update the FPS. If you make the same game and you remake it like that, to me, I would let that fly. When people say remaster is just a glorified update.
Yes, a like what they've done with Skyrim 2,600
yeah, they're
times.
like, we remastered it. You know what you did? You know what you did in a remaster? You added the mods that people made to make the game better. That is what you did. You add, like, if they were to come back and be like, we're remaking Borderlands 2, you know what they're going to do? They're going to add the mods in the game that people already want. Or they're going to add, like, fast traveling, like Borderlands 3, where you can fast travel from anywhere, which that's already a mod.
Yeah.
You can just
Some
add
of the
that
companies
in.
already get caught doing that too. Like the one for like Far Cry, I think it was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And they'll try and do that shit. I'm like, to me, that you're selling it because of nostalgia. That's what you're doing. I think for in terms of remasters, I think nostalgia is good because you get to play an updated game. But if you just remake it and it's the same game but like hella updated, it's got nicer graphics, it's got better cutscenes. Like you actually remake the cutscenes, you don't reuse any of the old shit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that has potential to be good.
Yeah, the new Dead Space, I believe, is a remake, which is all new though. Like I said, I believe it is all new. It will just have the same. It'll essentially be the same game, but it should look and feel brand new.
Also, don't sell remasters and remakes for full fucking price unless you put full fucking effort into them.
I agree with that. When they just remaster a game like they did with Skyrim. Not that I don't love Skyrim, but I have 3 separate copies of it. Like,
yeah, and they keep selling it and you sell it for full price.
And I keep buying it. What's wrong with me?
I get it goes on sale, but goddamn, like
we talked about FIFA. They didn't call it a remake.
And speaking of
want to
FIFA,
talk about FIFA. Okay, me and Paul were downstairs playing Madden because we play on the PS5, and I took that shit back downstairs, right? And we decided let's play FIFA. It's free. It's free right now for PS Plus people. So we get it, install it, start playing it. That game is boring as shit. I'm surprised that there's people on there that can play it as long as they actually can, because I'm telling you, I played 5 minutes of the first match, and my God, that game was boring.
Yeah.
I will say, paying full price for Madden 22, you want to talk about sports games being just remakes and like remasters themselves over and over. Madden 22 feels a lot different than Madden 21.
That's good.
And it does. The animations are better. It seems to be more animation based or momentum based instead of animation based. I think as an overall game, it feels better than the 21.
You also said that UFC felt better.
UFC 4 compared to 3. Oh my God, it was night and day.
Yeah.
It felt so much better. They made a bunch of improvements. I see why people said 2 was better than 3, but 4 is definitely the best so far. I really did enjoy 4. I played the shit out of it.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
But sport games are big, like remake or remaster type games. They
yes
use the
and
same
no.
They use like the same engine with the same stuff. Have you ever heard of have you ever seen like the NBA 2K cutscenes where they like? I mean, you watched it with me where Donkey was making fun of them.
Bad.
Hey,
they're so bad.
We need to go out there.
Wait, that was what year was that game?
New 2022.
You can't be real. You can't.
No, that's real. It seems like there's dudes literally holding.
Bro, I thought this was like the original Tomb Raider. Like,
no. It's literally the new one. It's what they did with Mike Tyson's and his adventure friends or whatever. Mike Tyson's Adventure Pals or whatever, where they just gave him a script and said, "Read this," and they just go, "Yeah, you need to do it. Don't yell at me." And that's what it sets the whole dialogue.
I'll do what's best for the team. Thanks.
Do what's best. You need to get out of my face. Don't come at me with that shit, man. Go sit down before I teach you what it's like to sit down. Like,
very true. True.
I could voice act better than that.
Can you?
That's a good question. That's a good question. So we actually have an audience listening to us.
We should start saying that.
And if you want to, we have a live studio audience.
There you go.
If you would like to be a part of the live studio audience, you just have to come by my Twitch at twitch.tv/Obrodo and drop a tier 3, and you get access to being able to listen to us do this in real time. So I have a question from BJ. Yes, would would Final Fantasy VII be considered a remake or a remaster? I'm gonna be dead ass with you. I have never played that game. So,
I believe it was a remake, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't think it's on the. it's not on the original engine or anything like that. So I believe it is a
Yeah,
It is,
remake.
and it actually is called Remake.
Yeah,
by the way,
I was
they
gonna
made
say
it. They made it. Let me see what the original one. What is the original Final Fantasy made on?
I mean, it was
What,
PS1.
PlayStation, yeah. Something.
Original Final Fantasy VII doesn't even have an engine it was made on. It was just
Yeah,
made.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
'cause you
Final
just had the
Fantasy
Sony
VII
SDK.
remake was made on Unreal Engine 4. Therefore,
Which
they
is
had to
crazy.
rebuild the entire game on Unreal Engine 4.
Which is very
So,
impressive,
so
actually.
that
Props
is
to them.
that's really good.
Yeah.
It's hard to make an old game on a new engine
Yes.
and actually make it play smoothly.
Yes.
And the fact that they did it properly, because they got the same ratings essentially between the old one and the new one, which means they did it right.
Absolutely.
It looks fantastic. It plays fantastic. Granted, I don't really like the Final Fantasy games, but
Oh, you're about to have a lot of hate.
that's a good remake.
Yes.
Because they did it on a new engine. They built, like, if they were to make, when they rebuild Dead Space, if they build that on a brand new engine or even Unreal Engine 4 or Unreal Engine 5, that
Oof.
they're basically building a new game. It's just a game that
I mean,
we've already played.
They
Yes.
changed the story, so
In Final Fantasy VII?
yeah.
I didn't
Did
know
they?
that.
Yep.
I did
Granted,
not know
Final
that either.
Fantasy VII looked goofy. It did. The old one, I remember watching a video of like Donkey play it. That shit was goofy looking.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I never really got into Final Fantasy. I always wanted to. The only Final Fantasy game that I genuinely kind of like enjoyed vibing with was Final Fantasy X.
10 had a good system. Yeah.
Yeah, I
The
liked
only
the
one that
way
I
it felt.
actually looked at was the open world one, but then I realized that I would have probably have no idea what's going on, so I just kind of stopped,
True.
and I never
Yeah.
really touched it. But
True.
overall, like, there's a few remakes out there that are actually really good. Like there's one that I dislike because
Okay.
it's a remaster. It's
Okay.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and it's just the campaign, but they remastered it. And I'm going to tell you that it looks a tiny bit different because they updated the graphics, but my God, that just, it does not deserve that. Like, why? And they sell it for full price.
Yeah.
Even if it's $40, bro, it's the campaign only, and
They did.
it's just a remake. Like, that's gross to me. And I don't know, man. It's just stuff like that that just makes me just people they prey on people's nostalgia.
Well,
Yes.
I guess you know how good or bad a game did based on the ratings it gets and the sales that it has. And like we just said about Final Fantasy VII, that was a hit. It pleased a lot of people for a lot of different reasons, obviously, because it was well received.
That's why I don't be buying things day one.
True. Yeah, absolutely. There's very few things that I will like pre-order or get right off the jump. I normally end up waiting.
Speaking of getting stuff off the jump, apparently season 9 for Division 2 dropped today, and apparently it's really, really good.
Interesting.
It's really good. I really liked that game. That game was really fun. I really love the Division game as a whole. It just, we did everything, and then it required us to find fucking 15 other people to finish the rest of it.
Yeah, the fucking raids.
The raid was crazy. There was
Yeah, they
some
were fun at
precise
first, but
timing to be able
grind
to do
them
the raid
out,
stuff.
like,
But apparently season 9, they added a new mode, they added a bunch of new stuff, and they said it's really good. So, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to dive back into that, but right now I'm on that CSGO kick. So.
Absolutely. Should they remaster CSGO?
No. CSGO is as consistent as it gets right now. That is why it is still, if you ever look at the Steam charts, it is still it's the top played game on Steam, period.
Yeah.
That's across all PC games on Steam. Granted, right now, apparently Lost Ark is the highest played at this current moment. Lost Ark has 417,000, CSGO is 339, and then Dota at 240.
Dota stays steady.
Yeah,
You know what
Dota's
I'm
pretty
saying?
crazy. And Apex at 161, and then Elden Ring is actually 5th above PUBG now. Right now.
Correct.
Granted, PUBG has more hours played, but
Well,
only
that makes
barely,
sense.
actually. Only 50 million more hours. And
Oh,
PUBG is
only?
much old. Yeah, but PUBG's so much older. Elden Ring released 2.5 months ago
true.
and is
True.
almost caught up to PUBG in play hours. That is crazy.
Well, Elden Ring is a good game.
Rust, Destiny, TF2 is nice. It's nice. It's nice.
And speaking of a Soulsborne game, what about the remaster that they did of Dark Souls?
I actually heard people tell me that the Dark Souls remaster is worse than the original.
It is. I played it, and it feels just as clunky and just as doo-doo with very minimal updates to textures and whatnot. It really wasn't worth it. They need to remake it to where it's optimized for PC, because if anyone is not fully aware,
remake Dark Souls 1 on Dark Souls 3 engine.
Dark Souls games are ports. They are not built for PC. Elden Ring, and I think maybe even Sekiro, not 100% sure.
Elden Ring was not built for PC either, I don't think.
Elden Ring was the best that they've done so far.
Yeah,
and it's very well made for PC compared to the other Dark Souls games. They are not built for PC.
Sekiro was made for PC.
I was gonna say, that's when they started kind of branching off into multi-platform and doing things for not specifically for PC but optimizing, so it's very well playable on PC. But the original Dark Souls games feel like you're literally just trudging through mud. Like they're hard to play on PC. They just are difficult. If they remastered, like actually remastered or even rebooted, just saying, the original Dark Souls games, not that it isn't a masterpiece, it's a great game, but if they did that, I do feel like it would be well received because of how well Elden Ring is currently doing.
Yeah, I encourage, if you like Elden Ring, go play any of FromSoft's games, except the first and second Dark Souls. They're not that great, and Dark Souls 2 is like the people want to forget Dark Souls 2 because it just wasn't the best compared to the other games. I would recommend Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3 is phenomenal.
Great game.
Phenomenal.
Bloodborne.
It's such a great Bloodborne. However, don't play Bloodborne in its current state. They are rumoring a remake of Bloodborne.
Yes,
because
I saw that actually.
Bloodborne's 30 FPS right now, which is the reason I stopped playing. I get such a bad headache playing that game.
Yeah,
but if they update that bitch, I will do multiple playthroughs of that shit. 60 FPS.
They will
and
probably
a good PC port. And dude, oh my god,
they will remaster it most likely. They will just the game looks beautiful. It still to this day, 10 years later, looks great. It just has that frame rate cap, which really sucks. If they could spruce it up a little bit, I don't even think they need a new engine. I think the game played really well. But definitely the 30 cap. That is
a remaster I'd buy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that game was as phenomenal. Like, I'd pay full price for the remaster just because that game is phenomenal. I don't like remasters, but Dark Souls 3, or not Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne isn't a nostalgia trip. It's just a fantastic game.
It was a very, very,
very and in its current state, a lot of people said they would play it, but it's 30 FPS. It's very difficult to actually sit down and
It's easier to play on a TV than it is to play on PC.
Yeah, because I play on my monitor and I get a headache because I just can't keep up. It's 30 FPS. It's just rough.
It looks stuttery. You get used to playing a game with 100 plus FPS, and then you go down to a 30. Dude, I can't even watch a 60 frame rate clip. Like I just watching a scene play out at 60 FPS gives me a headache.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
First world problems, you know.
But to me, that's. I really hope they do touch that game because that game is great.
So, question, and speaking of nostalgia and nostalgic games, not so much on the remasters, but when they revive a game series that's been dead for a while with a sequel, does the nostalgia help a late sequel?
Like what game would be a good representation of that? What would be a good game for that?
I'm trying to think. What's something that was dead for a fat minute
that got rebooted,
that got revamped or brought back to life? And I'm not going to say something like Spyro, because they did make a new game, but I'm not going to.
Sonic Team Battle 2 or whatever it was, the rolling around at the speed of, that was peak Sonic games. Dude.
Oh, that was Adventure. That was the first.
Sonic Adventure 2, going through the cityscape, like fucking sliding down the dude. That was peak. That was one of the best times.
a lot of like failure since then. And then recently with Sonic Generations, they did a really good job with that.
I heard Sonic Generations was really good, actually, from what
Yeah,
I've heard
it gives
from a
you
lot of people.
so it plays back and forth between like the 2D version and the 3D version. And yeah, they did a really good job with it. It gives you the feel for the old stuff without like the old janky mechanics of being on a freaking 16-bit
I
Game Boy or
Here's
whatever.
one, and I think this was planned, but what about, I don't know if this is kind of iffy. God of War wasn't a dead series, but we went a long freaking stretch of
I mean,
time. But then again, I don't know the details of their development. I don't know if they immediately after they, finished off God of War 3 on PS3, I don't know if they like immediately went to working on the reboot, if you will, even though it's not a reboot, it's a continuation. But
God of War 3 came out in 2010.
Yeah,
And
I
then
was
the
saying
yeah,
next
it's
one
like a
came out in
completely different
2018.
engine.
that's
So
what I'm saying. It was eight or 9 years later, and then now it's finally coming to PC. Like I said, I don't know if I'd call it a
actually,
dead series, but there's a whole generation that didn't know that game. And that's, I mean, like for me, I played all 3 God of War games. They were one of my favorites, and the new game was amazing.
See, I don't know if I'd call that. See, saying it's a reboot is kind of hard
Elaborate on
because,
what you're talking about.
in terms of God of War,
Okay.
calling God of War a reboot is kind of hard.
But it is at the
Because
same time.
I know it is and it isn't, because a reboot, they kind of just throw the story out the window and then start a new storyline, essentially.
not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
It's
Because
so
they did
easy
not
just
do
to
that
take
with
the
God.
old
Then
story and
it is a
retcon
reboot.
it.
I
But
mean,
it's a super successful reboot.
the new Resident Evil, the Resident Evil series has been rebooted twice. It was rebooted once from PS1 to GameCube with a new style. It had a brand new style, new system, new engine, and they rebooted it. Things were slightly different, and they added to it, and then they rebooted it yet again as a continuation of the main story with prequels and sequels in the first person. So you can reboot in different ways, but it means it's going to be a deviation, it's going to be a change of the design or development of it in a new way when they re-release it. So God of War is a reboot because it is no longer that semi top down isometric 3D game anymore. Like it's now over the shoulder, totally new game style, new look, new feel, new engine. Everything is new about it, but they also continued the story.
Right.
And BJ mentioned
Doom is a good
Doom.
question. Doom is not. I don't think that is considered a reboot,
I say it is.
because I
I say
mean,
it is.
Doom 3 was a remake.
Doom 3 was not a remake.
It literally. I'm looking at it right now. I'm googling this as we go. Doom 3. The title was unveiled later that year as Doom 3, despite being remake of the original game. Apparently Doom 3 was, because Doom 3 originally was released in 2004. Then Doom 3 BFG
Yes.
edition came out, and that was a remastered version of Doom 3.
Of Doom 3, correct.
So then, yes, Doom would be considered a reboot, because the last one made before then was fucking Doom 2, No Rest for the Living. And that was 6 years before the Doom 2016
the original
came out.
Doom, the original Doom that came out in, God, I don't even know when. It was like
Original Doom came out in 1993.
I was gonna say it's early 90s because I played it. It. You can say all day that Doom 3 was supposed to be a reboot. They're totally different games. I mean, it was a complete different game. I don't even.
Speaking
The
of
story
that,
was
though,
different. Everything was different. From
didn't Quake technically get a reboot? Because didn't they release a new Quake that was free? Because I remember playing a Quake
the
in the past couple
multiplayer.
years.
Yeah, the multiplayer was free on Quake,
Which would be considered a reboot as well. A lot of the reboots, the thing is reboots usually do well, and I don't think that has anything to do with nostalgia. I think it's because, if you think, right, original Doom was beloved. Like 1993 Doom was, everybody loved Doom. It was a fucking revelation of a video game.
Doom and Quake were like monsters.
But the way they were made was, they did what they could with the fucking technology at the time.
Absolutely.
And in the past 25 years, technology has exploded.
Yeah.
I think somebody said that it took more time to go from stone to iron than it did to go from iron to nuclear, because that's how fast we've been progressing.
Yeah.
And the fact that in 1993, the best they could do was a sprite that moved three pixels on the screen out of 64 pixels or 8 pixels or whatever to the Doom. I mean, that's why Doom and God of War have done so well, is because the franchise is beloved. People love those franchises.
Yeah.
And being able to make them as well as they can on the engines that they can is just fucking, it's flawless. Doom 2016 is almost a perfect game.
It is. It was a really, really good game.
That is a game I recommend everybody play. And when people go, dude, how do I get better on PC? That game.
Here's another
Wolfenstein 2.
Yes. Yeah, they were technically reboots. Here's a really good one for you, okay? Here's a really good one for you. We just found out very recently that they are completely rebooting Fable. Even though I hated the game, I know it's one of the most beloved game series ever. But they are completely rebooting Fable. And that I couldn't even tell you when the last Fable game came out, but it was a long ass time ago on PS2. And that game will probably do really well, even at minimum, if it's just because of nostalgia. Because a lot of people love that game.
People really loved Fable, man.
They did.
Fable came out. Fable Fortune came out 2017. I don't
Yeah,
even
but
think
what
that was
what
a
is
real
that?
Fable.
I don't
though.
even think that the Fable, the first one, came out in like 2004.
Why they released a teaser trailer for Fable? Oh wait, that's Fable something else. That's Fable Legend.
I think 3 was the last big one.
Fable 3 was in 2010. Was the
That's
last
what
one.
I'm saying. 12 years ago.
And then like, what is Fable Fortune? Is a free-to-play collectible card game.
Oh, that's nothing.
From a Kickstarter campaign to crowdfund it.
That's.
And then Fable Anniversary was just all 3 Fables, I think, in the same game or something.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
And
But like I said, I remember the first
those
one.
games, man, they were made in Unreal 3. Or no, Fable the trilogy, the Fable Anniversary in 2014. They remade all of the games on Unreal Engine 3.
Which is good. I mean, that's a valiant effort. That's a definite remake. They were doing remakes, and good for them.
And
I'm
now
sure
they're
it sold
going
well.
to release the new Fable,
Which is a complete reboot.
It actually is called a reboot. Reboot.
Yes,
20, yeah.
it is. It is a reboot. And that's a big one that will probably do well, specifically because of nostalgia. I don't know how well it will do with newer audiences, because as you know, story games are not typically what people want to play anymore. I hope it does really well,
So
even though I may or may not.
The company that's designing Fable is the same company that designed Forza Horizon.
Which Forza Horizon is a very good looking game.
So there's potential for that. They've done everyone.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Gotcha.
And then they picked up Fable, and they actually hired more people to make the Fable game.
As they should.
So that is very interesting. I forgot we heard about that, because I think Eggy told me about that. Because I think it was Eggy. I think she was hyped for it.
Just, but on my personal perspective, I'm a gamer. What about it? I'd like to see Dino Crisis reboot. Okay, I don't know if anybody played that.
Reboot fucking Turok, bro.
No, no. Dino Crisis, horror
Toe
dinosaurs, not shooter dinosaurs. Horror. They did reboot Turok twice. Go look it up. They have rebooted it. They failed.
Did they reboot Turok?
Yes, and they failed. They flopped. They did terrible. I want Dino Crisis, my guy. I want I want spooky Dino boys. Okay? That's what I want. I want Regina in her weird outfit with the pink and the black that was supposed to be Resident Evil 1.5. I want Dino Crisis reboot, and I want it now. Okay? I want it now. I want it.
They tried to reboot it in 2000.
Imagine first person Dino Crisis like Resident Evil 7 and 8. Okay? Just dinosaur boys in your face. Spooky.
Bro, they rebooted it in 2008. That doesn't
dog
count.
Shit.
That's a poopy year to remake.
Dude, okay, you should go look at some of the other games that came out in 2008, 2009. That was a great time for gaming. Okay, that was peak.
but you're trying to release that at the same time that these are coming out, bro.
I'm just saying.
And it was published by fucking a movie company.
Yeah, they made mistakes. Yeah. 100%.
Oh, because it was a different dude. It was a different developer. That's
yes,
why.
It was.
Developed by Propaganda Games. That sounds horrible. Oh, what did they make? What have they made?
Nothing.
Literally, they've made Turok in 2008, Tron Evolution, and then both other games were Pirates of the Caribbean, Armada of the Damned, canceled. canceled.
Canceled.
Turok
Okay.
2
Yeah, that makes
all
sense.
canceled.
movies.
And now are they still active? No, they're defunct. They literally disappeared in 2011.
Wow. Imagine making a game and literally it killing your whole studio. Okay.
Dude, they made Tron. Tron Evolution. I didn't even know that was a real game.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, those were all movies.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
Dude,
I'd
as
like
of
to see some
October
Dino
2019, the PC version of Tron Evolution can no longer be installed or played due to the game's use of Secure ROM DRM,
Oh
which stopped
no.
providing authentication services after Disney revoked their license.
Ooh, I have another good one. Hear me out. Series reboot. Legacy of Kain. Give me some Legacy of Kain. Legacy of Kain, baby. Soul Reaver, the original vampire game. Give it to me.
looking at it
I'd
right now.
also like to see Blood Rain be resurrected as well.
Didn't they
Blood
do
Rain
Blood
was
Rain?
amazing. No, they did
Or no,
not.
you were playing the old Blood Rain.
That's
what I remember. That you were playing the old Blood
a
Rain.
revamped Blood Rain or Legacy of Kain would be fucking epic.
Dude,
Especially doing new age graphics and everything. Ugh. Oi. And I've mentioned Twisted Metal. I'm not gonna
reboot Twisted Metal or reboot Black, dude. I want to see Black in its former glory because I watched somebody play that recently. That game looks like absolute dog shit, and I'm like, why did I like that game? Because in the time, that game was fucking peak.
Literally, it was one of the last games that got produced on PS2.
Yeah,
and
that game
was really good.
That game was peak, bro.
It was.
Oh man!
I mean, the
that game was
leaves
so
used
good.
to move with you, and on PS2, that was crazy. That was crazy. It was just looking back now, looks a little dog shit.
Yeah, looking back now, it looks really bad. But
that's okay. It's okay. You know,
Yeah,
this is our dreams. These are our aspirations as gamers. What we'd like to see actually rebooted. Because I feel like I know you don't really like nostalgia, but there's some stuff that I would really like to see because I genuinely think I'd still like to play it.
See, but playing the old games is different. People, they reboot Skyrim 16 times because of nostalgia. That's some bullshit.
Well, they remastered.
But
they will get. Mark my words. And it came out 11/11/11. In literally in the next 10 years, it's going to be 11/11/31, announcing the complete reboot of Skyrim.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
And we're gonna buy it again.
Or remake resale.
Oblivion, you piece of shit. Anyway, we're gonna let's talk about. I want to ask a question. I'm gonna ask a question this time. Okay, I don't ever ask questions. All right. Speaking of nostalgia and stuff, do sequels ruin franchises?
They can.
That has nothing to do
Sometimes.
with nostalgia. I have no idea why I worded it that way.
I don't know either. Well, 100% they can ruin a game.
They can. There are some like when you think about good sequels, you think of Fable 2, even though you don't like Fable. Fable 2 was hands down the best sequel in the Fable series. It was so good. Not overall. But like Risk of Rain 2 is way better than the first one.
Yeah.
Right. Risk of Rain 2 is way better. You have Borderlands 2, which is it's the best Borderlands in the entire series.
Yeah.
And it's such a great sequel.
Okay, let me put one out there that's bad.
Okay.
A good example for you, Mass Effect Andromeda. Just saying.
Jesus Christ, that game is horrible.
It flopped. Even though so many people bought it, so many people hated it.
Yeah,
like there was that.
Was such a, oh man.
Yeah. So that's one that comes to mind for me personally.
I mean, that's a good. Good.
Yeah.
That game was.
I'm just saying.
There are really good ones and there are really bad ones.
Here's another bad one. A lot of people had hope for Andromeda. Here's another bad one. You ready for this? Battlefront 2. Okay.
The new ones.
The Star Wars 2017.
The thing is though, is that game inherently wasn't going to be bad. It was the practices that EA took.
EA.
That
You're right.
made
No,
it
you're
worse.
right. You're right. That was
they were making one dude said that he said to get Darth Vader, to unlock Darth Vader, he had to play 15 hours a day for like 6.5 weeks straight to get enough points to buy the prerequisites for Darth Vader. And then he had to do that 2 more times to be able to buy him.
Yeah.
And then they're like, or you can spend $150 and get the best version and you get all that shit for $150. And
Yeah.
I'm like, because
Come on.
it's EA.
It's
Like,
EA.
that's gross.
You're right. No, you're right. Now, granted, there was a lot of bugs. There was a lot of glitches.
Yeah,
Now,
there
I
was.
can't. You can't completely blame EA. There were problems. There were people abusing the system. Okay, let me give you another one. And this isn't gonna ring true to everyone, because not everyone is an OG gamer like myself. You know what I'm saying? Okay, but I'm gonna put this out there. Dynasty Warriors 9. If you were a child in the 90s, 2000s,
Jesus
and
Christ,
you
I
had
made
a
9 of those
PS2,
things?
you were buying every single Dynasty Warriors, okay? Because you wanted to slaughter everybody.
Dude, it was
You
the best
every
hack and slash ever made.
and every game was the same. There was a story. Do I know what it was? No fucking idea.
There was a story?
There was a story, fam. You were
Dude, I
saving
picked
people,
that shit
taking
up
over
just to
reigns.
beat the shit out of people.
That's what I'm saying. But Dynasty Warriors 9 came out. I don't remember the year, but it came out, and it just, I mean, granted, they had many successful sequels before that. Like, don't get me wrong, but
Dude, Dynasty Warriors
but
3 was peak
it
Dynasty
was
Warriors.
7, bro, 7.
I don't think I
7.
played 7.
Anyways, moving on though. Dynasty Warriors 9 came out 2018. I just looked it up.
18? Oh my
Yeah.
god!
And I'm going to tell you what they did. Here's the problem. They stretched the battles across an open, I'm air quoting, open world setting. And you know what happened? It looks empty. So it's literally just empty areas of I mean, the people that did play it, yeah, you have repeats of characters and they all look kind of the same, but you had to travel to an area, or unlock the next area, or a certain battle unlock the next part. It's open world, and it's just everything was this it was literally everything was the same. It was an open world of empty nothingness. I can't explain it. Go look it up and read a review. Disappointing. That shouldn't have happened. I don't know why they went that way. They went, oh, open worlds are doing good in 2018. Let's make one. But let's just mash all the other 8 games before it into this world that looks like shit. Anyways, that one hit me kind of hard. But I mean, okay, here's a good one that you might know. How did you personally feel about Mirror's Edge Catalyst?
Bro, compared to the first one, the draw to me of Mirror's Edge, the first Mirror's Edge, right, was the fact that it wasn't about fighting. It was about parkour.
100%.
It was about avoiding people. It was about running away. It was about just being faster than them.
Yep.
Catalyst said, "All right, fam, here's
how
you fucking box now. If you run into an area, you don't get cornered. You can still run, but you can't run out of that area until those enemies are dead."
Yep.
Like, that to me was stupid.
Yeah.
The flow system was cool because it was like, oh, if you learn how to do the flow system, you can move flawlessly through the environment, and that was awesome.
But
think
you're
that
still
was
going to
really
get
cool.
stopped in these little lock areas.
Mirror's Edge, the first one, you had the momentum and be like, oh, you run through here, and you just never stopped running because you couldn't fight.
Yeah.
Like, you could like do like a spin kick where you like jump off the wall and kick them and it'd spin them around, and then you'd keep running.
Yeah.
But that was the majority of it. This one, you'd be mid running, like, and it'd be like, okay, pause, fight these 3 dudes. And then you're like, dude, this just throws off the whole vibe of the game.
And they did that over and over, which was very annoying. But let me ask you, did you buy Catalyst because of the nostalgia of the first one?
It wasn't because of nostalgia. It's because I was hoping it'd be a good predecessor or a good successor to it. Right. I liked the parkour games. It's the same reason I bought Dying Light 2. Dying Light 2 was nothing like Dying Light 1.
This is true.
And objectively, Dying Light 2 is a good sequel.
Yeah.
But I feel like they almost tried too hard and they kind of lost it along the way. Yeah. What Dying Light was meant to be. Dying Light 1 was great because there was you had like a grapple hook. That was it. Yeah. And the rest of it was you parkouring. Dying Light 2 had really good identity of being it wanted to be parkour, but then they're like, here's a glider, and half of this map is just broken, and you have to just fly the whole time. And then that's why I like the first area. But then once you get to the first area and you have the glider, the same thing can happen. You can just fly, and I'm like,
makes it a little OP.
It's just it made it less flow. It just seems like the identity that they designed just was
Got
not.
lost.
It just they lost it.
Yeah. Here's another good one. It is technically a sequel / reboot. DMC. Devil May Cry.
That is considered a reboot, but I do like that they stuck to the story of young Dante.
Yes. Now, it's very 50-50. A lot of people were like, oh my god, a new style of Devil May Cry. It's going to be different. It's going to be good. And it was like split down the middle of people loved it or they hated it. Like, that one's 50-50. I thought it was a good game, but a lot of people did not like it. And then when Devil May Cry came out, they went back to the original kind of design of the game, and it was Devil May Cry 5 was great. But DMC kind of just
It
didn't hit
liked
for everybody.
DMC. I really liked it. I liked the gameplay. The story was cool because you got to see young Dante. His little reckless self. You got to see how he came up and stuff, and how, because I mean, he just thought he was he thought he was the shit a kid, and he still thinks that when he's older too, because he technically is.
He is,
and
let's be
I mean, he's a dog. Good luck scaling him because he'll shit on a lot of people.
Absolutely, he's only a demigod.
But only a demigod, and not to mention he has the blood of Sparta and all that other kind of crazy shit. But a lot of people, I actually heard the same thing, that people didn't really like it. The gameplay in that was, oh my god, nothing beats the gameplay to me of Nero. I don't know why, but I really liked the revving of the sword.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was one of my favorite DMCs. I think it was Devil May Cry 3. That was like one of my favorite ones of all time. I don't know if DMC is a good successor or a good reboot or anything, or a good
it was very
sequel
50-50.
or anything, but you can't deny that it wasn't fun. It was fun.
I have one more really good one. That is a reboot. It 100% is a reboot. That I personally liked very much. Tomb Raider. They rebooted it in 2013.
Okay.
And
the
it was
newer
honestly
Tomb Raider
amazing.
was fucking amazing.
Yeah, the newer Tomb Raiders are, in my opinion, very good as a reboot.
They did a great job with.
I thought they were wonderful. I know a few people didn't like them, but Tomb Raider originally, I mean, that was like late 90s, I think, and that was a PC game. That was literally a game built for PC that ended up porting to consoles, because that was one of my favorite PC games to play. I had all the Tomb Raider games, and then it kind of died for a while, and they brought it back, and I thought they did a really good job. Now, granted, of course, did it look good? Did like the commercials for it look good and all the previews? Yeah, I was like excited, but for me, it genuinely had nostalgia. I was nostalgic about it. Like, I was excited. I was like, I haven't played this game. I really don't want to go back and see Polygon Titty Lara Croft anymore. Give me a new one, and I was excited.
The good thing about the nostalgia games, like when I say I don't like nostalgia, I don't mean that I just dislike any game that's made because there's another game in the series.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the game is made poorly and it's bad. It doesn't have its own identity aside from being a sequel of that game.
Yeah.
God of War had his identity was fucking solid. There's so many memes of but like everything they did for that game, it had its own identity. It was fucking awesome. Tomb Raider came out with its own style of game, but it was a character that you were familiar with, so people who played it had like an attachment to Lara Croft.
Absolutely.
And they wanted to see more of the story, and it was great in its own regards because of that, which I think that was great. A lot of the reboots that, like, the reason Crash Bandicoot as a reboot did bad is because they played solely on the fact that people knew what Crash Bandicoot was. Crash Bandicoot, this reboot, had literally nothing in terms of identity. It was
they also didn't pull a new audience in, I don't think.
No, but it didn't have its own identity, which is why it was bad. Is because, like, even Borderlands 2, when it came out, it had its own identity to it.
Oh, definitely. All the Borderlands games did.
Exactly. All of them
which
do.
Was nice.
1, 2,
Thomas?
3, all of them. It's great.
Does Thomas have
hasn't
any
been saying
suggestions?
anything.
We've been overshadowing him.
No.
I just think it's a bunch of games Thomas hasn't played or doesn't play, which would make sense.
He's waiting for that Ragnarok reboot.
Yeah, that's what he's waiting. He's waiting for Lost Ark 2.
Nah. Maybe Path of Exile too. We'll see what happens.
Oh man, Path of Exile 2 would be so good.
Imagine.
But like even Risk of Rain has its own identity compared to the first one.
True.
Which is what makes it such a good sequel.
Yeah.
Like, when did Risk of Rain 2, the first one, come out?
I don't even remember.
I'm looking it up right now.
2017 or something like that.
The first one did? First one
The
came
first
out in
one?
2013.
The first one was probably like 2014, yeah.
Yeah, it came out in 2013. And then Risk of Rain 2 was in 2020.
I mean, good for them getting that, Oh, God, you know what? That just made me think. Imagine a new Terraria reboot.
That would be crazy.
Because that game sustained, and they kind of retired it, and they said, hey, gamers, you can just have this game now. And they kind of just, like...
Well, they still update it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they do anymore. I think everything is just mods now.
No, they still do State of the Game. They just released another one in April. They do a State of the Game every.
I thought they were kind of leaving that be just to modders.
Oh no, they still launch official Terraria wikis. They're still optimizing for the Steam decks.
Oh, I forgot about Steam decks.
They're still showing Terraria update news.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking through their updates right now. Like they have Terraria 1.41 that just came out.
Well,
I mean, they won.
Terraria's a great game.
Yeah, they won Labor of Love and everything.
Yeah, good for them.
They constantly keep updating that game.
It's been a great.
But they also just let the modders run rampant too, because to be honest, if you release anything on PC, bro, you just kind of have to let the modders get in there. Because
sometimes they come up with better games.
Yeah, modders can carry the shit out of a game.
Absolutely. You know, as a side topic, since you brought up Steam Decks, which if anyone does not know what the Steam Deck is, especially for people that aren't, on PC, Steam, the game sales platform, it's also a developer as well, but Steam, which holds thousands and tens of thousands of games.
So many games.
They, a couple years ago, decided to announce that they were going to be creating their own custom tailored video game platform, kind of like a Switch. It was going to be wireless. It was going to essentially hook remotely to your Steam account. And they kind of tested this with Big Picture, which was the thing they did for gaming on your TV. But yeah, so you're going to have this little Switch-like device, and it's going to be 1080 quality, and it will essentially play your game on your Steam list. Almost any game. I think they said the majority of the catalog will be playable.
It's literally a PSP for Steam.
But better. It's essentially a microcomputer, because they said it's actually going to be very powerful.
Oh, let me see. What is in a Steam Deck? I'm pretty sure somebody talked about it. Because I'm pretty sure Linus Tech Tips got a hold of it.
Oh, quite a few. They've already started releasing them. They're not previews anymore.
And Linus Tech Tips immediately dismantled it and
looked. Oh yeah, he took it apart.
So let me see. You can, for the 512 gig version, it's almost $700. We're not sponsored, by the way, unless they want us to be.
No, sponsor us.
4-core, 8-thread. It has an AMD Zen 2 CPU. Clock speed is 2.4 to 3.5 gigahertz. That's
not bad.
Wild. AMD RDNA2 is the GPU. GPU clock speed is 1 to 1.6. Got 16 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, buddy.
Refresh rate 60 hertz. Resolution's 1280 by 800. Right. 7-inch LCD touch screen. Pretty crazy, actually. For just a little handheld thing, that's like super advanced.
It is quite powerful, and I really think it's going to be, I think it's a very smart move, and they have already started launching them. I get mine in July.
You're getting one?
I pre-ordered one.
Bro, imagine being able to play GTA 5 on the go at 40 frames.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what it gets.
Literally, you can be on the toilet, just playing any game in your Steam catalog. You'll be able to, I mean, literally, I think they said like 90% of the entire Steam catalog is going to be, imagine playing Elden Ring on the toilet, just vibing.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, to be honest.
Seriously, just like CS:GO on the toilet. Like what?
Grant, I'm not playing CS:GO on a fucking joystick.
True.
That would be a nightmare.
Not saying you should, but for anyone who didn't know what it was, that's what it's going to be. It's essentially a Switch connected to directly to your Steam library. Yeah,
It's
bubble
bigger than a
bath
Switch
plan.
too, by the
Hell
way.
yeah.
They say it's a couple inches wider, half an inch taller, really a lot thicker, and it's heavier than the Switch. Granted,
And it
'cause
has
it's
a higher quality screen.
it's an entire PC.
Yes, it is. It really is.
Imagine, yeah, like BJ just said, imagine sitting in a bubble bath playing Elden Ring.
Absolutely. I mean, if
Sheesh.
they make it waterproof.
And Steam, if you want to sponsor us, keep talking about your Steam Deck, please let us know.
Absolutely, sir.
My business email
Madam.
is all over the place. Whoever sees this, Gabe Newell, please. Also, make sure you put a knife in one of my CS:GO cases when I do another opening, so I can have a cool one.
Streamer privilege. Please.
Content.
Yeah, streamer privilege, please. Content.
Absolutely.
Content.
But what I was getting to was I did put a placeholder on a Steam Deck because I did want to have one. Because I thought that was great. I have a gigantic Steam library and I'd like to be able to play it more readily available. But me personally, I am a PC gamer. I mostly do PC gaming. However, I have always bought every console because that's how I am. I want to have the availability. If I want to play a Nintendo game, I'm going to play it. If I want to play a PlayStation game, I'm going to play it. If I want an Xbox game, I'm going to play it. So I have put a lot of money into my collection of consoles and games and whatnot. But my question was, we're gamers, what about it? What consoles or platforms did you guys, Thomas and Bobo, start playing on? Like, what was your first experiences with it? Speaking of nostalgia, like, what console was your first? Did you love it? Do you hate it? What brought you there?
Sega.
Sega?
Yeah.
I remember going over to my brother's house, my brother Austin. I went to his grandma's house. I remember this specifically because his grandma had one leg, and
Wow.
it was really cool. She hobbled around on crutches, and she was a fucking dog. She was crazy, awesome. And she had a Sega in her room, and I remember playing the old school Madden on it. And I picked it up and started playing it. And went, wow, this is kind of dog shit, and I got off. And I was like, I literally was like, wow, this isn't that fun. Like, I don't understand why people think this is fun. Like, this is kind of boring. And then I was like, I'm gonna go outside and fucking roll in the mud or some shit. Cause I was a kid and I loved running around. I was like, let's go outside. I'm gonna go eat dirt or fucking find a cat to look at. I don't know. So we just walked away, and then I remember picking up a N64 that somebody left at my house and played the shit out of Mario 64. It was the only game I had for it.
Oh, but it was such a good game.
And then I remember playing Pokemon Stadium because I remember the cartridge was yellow. I think it was yellow, and that game was fucking cool. That game was so cool, so ahead of its time at the time, dude. Playing Pokemon where you throw them in a stadium and you see them and they fight each other, it was so crazy.
So, mine is PC.
She's gonna say fucking old school DOS where you had to like code your own program.
It was,
before you could play a game.
it was DOS games. Yes, it was. And otherwise, I mean, my neighbor had an original Nintendo, like the original NES. So I didn't have one because we had the money for a computer, but that's essentially where we spent all of our money. So I never had any consoles. And then another friend, had the original Game Boy. They all look the same. They were all that weird, crusty, grayish beige color. Like that's just how it was.
The green screen, yeah.
Yeah. So I had DOS games. So for me as a kid, it was PC games. But a lot of kids my age didn't have a computer. Like that wasn't very common in the mid '90s. Like a lot of people did not have a PC. So I played way different games than other kids. Other kids were playing like the Marios and Pokemon and shit like that.
The Marios.
The Marios. I didn't, but I didn't have that. I didn't have those games. I had like weird PC games. Granted, I love them, but I had a different experience with games. So when I started being able to play on other people's devices like the Nintendo, I was like, this shit kind of lit. Especially when once I got a friend that had an N64, I was like, ooh, baby, this is great. It was great. And
Back
yeah,
then,
I
the thing that
just
got me was like how rumors and like cheats got spread around back then, because there was no like internet forums where you went to like,
true.
cheat game FAQs wasn't around then, and everybody knew about the what was it, the missing no glitch in Pokemon, where you go up and down Cinnabar Island. Like,
Bro,
who
I
the
still
fuck
remember
finds that?
R1, R2, L1, R2, left down, right up, left down, right up. Like that's the GTA that's the GTA San Andreas cheat because I had a booklet for that shit.
Bro, I'm gonna tell you right now. You ready for this? PS1. Okay. Game Shark.
I never had a Game Shark.
Bro, I did. I
Yeah,
had a Game Shark.
I never had a Game Shark.
Do you know? I'm gonna tell you how stupid. In case, yeah, Game Shark was game changing because not that I didn't play my games, but every once in a while you'd come across some bullshit in a game where it was either a glitch in the game that you couldn't like get past it, or you had already beat a game twice and you wanted to mess it up and you wanted to try something new. Game Shark. You would put that disc in your PlayStation, figure out what cheats you wanted to use, and then boot up your save. And it was amazing.
So
You
you know
want
my
all the money in the world? Game Shark has it. You want chicks with big titties? Game Shark has it. Absolutely. Any cheat you want, Game Shark had it.
see I
It was
How do I get
remember
that
great.
last one?
what was the last one? Can you explain that one again?
No, we're gonna move on from this
I
topic.
remember my first ever PC game. And it was RuneScape.
Of course it was.
Dude, I remember when I lived, me and my mom had moved in with her friend, and they had we had one laptop. And there were times during the summer where it would be me, Nick, and Jordan, and we'd all wake up as early as we possibly could because we'd split the time up on the laptop to 1 hour apiece.
Yeah.
And whoever woke up and got on the computer first was the first hour.
Yeah.
So we'd go to bed at like 1 a.m. and then get up at 4 to try to be the first person to be on the computer so we could keep playing our RuneScape
Well,
account.
I mean, you back in the day, you had a communal household computer. Like
Yeah.
everyone used one computer because I'm gonna tell you guys, the computers back then, we're talking 30 years ago, they were $700 to $800. That's in old money. That's an old
That's
money.
an old money. Old
Yeah.
money. Not new money.
And those
Nah,
things had like double-digit megahertz for CPUs. Like,
dude, they were
Yeah,
dog
dude,
shit.
you were struggling on one of those.
Somehow the games just ran real
That
nice
was back
though.
when it was a fucking browser game. Dude, that was the good old days right there. I remember.
Don't
dude,
even
that,
get me started on browser games. Don't even
yeah,
get
there
me
was some.
started.
Dude, Newgrounds was the king of browser games.
I remember when Newgrounds came out. That changed a lot of things. I'm gonna tell you though, old PC games though were like old PC games were hard a vibe. They
Red
were
Hard.
Alert.
I don't think
Ooh,
I even
girl.
ever played like was that Allies and Axis, Command and
yeah,
Conquer, the old games like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
Command
Yeah.
those were kind of wild. I remember hearing about those. I just never. I don't think I ever played those.
I mean like Elder Scrolls 2 was on PC. They were on DOS. People don't know this, but they were. Doom was on DOS. It was one of the first games I played. Wolfenstein was on DOS. Like there was a whole bunch of games that were actually just absolutely old as shit. Sim, listen to me. Sim City. We all know Sim City, right? It's not as popular anymore, but we
I
know
never
what it
played
is.
SimCity.
On Windows
1980,
95.
1989 is when the
Wow.
first Sim City was released.
How do you even make a SimCity on MS DOS? Like,
Bro, you
it
don't
didn't
even
have
understand.
graphics.
It like I don't even. It was magic. It was freaking magic how they did these things. It was
ASCII
magic.
buildings.
It was magic. I miss it. That see for me, old PC games are very nostalgic. There are websites where you can play old DOS games, and it makes my heart melt every time I go in there and fuck around on that shit. So good.
I miss old gaming days. Was just, I wouldn't say they're better than they are now. It's just the community and the people who played video games back then were better.
Yeah.
Times are different.
Everybody back then really like genuinely enjoyed video games and only wanted to see people succeed and do better and make the video games better.
Yeah.
And nowadays, people only care about themselves. So some other things suffer, and now it's more about the money than releasing a full experience.
Well, let's hope some developers keep putting out good work. Elden Ring was a good start, and hopefully people can appreciate solo standing games rather than everything.
I just think it's
being
funny that
VR.
everybody on Elden Ring keeps saying, man, they should make more games like this. And I'm like,
Yeah,
you
I'm
need
like-
to go play all the FromSoft games then. They're all
For
literally
real?
the same thing, except
Oh,
better.
man.
I'm gonna
For
say it.
real?
I'm gonna end this stream, and it's gonna piss a lot of you off. Elden Ring is probably bottom 2 FromSoft games.
It was a
period.
beautiful game.
It's a great game. It
great
plays
game.
fantastic, but the story and the bosses are way worse than anything they've made.
Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. Maybe next week, maybe we take a look at what games do your average nowadays semi-casual gamer honestly need to go back and play? Like to appreciate games, game series, how games have developed, where they came from. Like what games
Yes.
would some like I mean obviously like you said, if you liked Elden Ring, go play the actual Dark Souls games. Go get punished by those games where you're claustrophobic in a hallway with a black knight literally just smacking you down 100 times. Go get punished by those games. Or Sekiro. Learn how a totally different gameplay style, but still has the same amount of punishment.
You can't. And I think next week we're going to be hopefully having our first guest on. If I can, we're gonna start doing these. We actually have a set time. We're gonna start working on doing these every day now, or every week. So yeah, I think today was a fantastic way. I think that's a fantastic way to end it.
I have one more question.
One more
before we
question.
end,
Okay.
because we're gamers, and what about it? What's the best gaming platform? Go.
PC.
PC, absolutely. PC Master Race right here.
Why would you even ask that?
Yeah, I know it's
I
gonna
have
piss a lot
to
of you
because
off.
it's gonna piss some people off.
I know it's gonna piss a lot of you off. You can feel free to tell me that you disagree with me, and that's fine. But have fun paying for mods on Fallout 4 when I can just download them off of Nexus Mods using their application that just installs into my PC.
Troll.
So the only downside to PC is you have a bunch of different launchers you have to use.
Very annoying.
But once you figure that out, it's literally the most simple thing ever. And Google is your best friend. However,
Google is.
yeah, we're gamers. What about it? But dude, I'm so mad that she said the title like 6 different times in this fucking episode.
I really wanted to bring it home.
She was hammering
okay?
that point home, dude.
I really wanted to.
Oh my god. But
whoever can count how many times I said it and put it in the comments at some point somewhere wherever you're listening to this, or in the Discord, or wherever else, you'll win like an internet cookie or 2.
Oh yeah, we'll give you karma or something on Reddit. I don't know. But next week, hopefully we'll have our first guest. I got to make sure that he is good for it because it's going to be Blacksmith if it's going to be anybody.
Cool.
I've been talking to him about it for the past couple weeks. He said he's down. His work's been messing him up. So we'll probably hopefully have our first guest tomorrow. Remember,
Next week, not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow. Next week. Sorry. Sorry, I'm used to streaming, and I usually just tell them see you tomorrow. But if you do have interest in listening to us do this in real time and ask questions like BJ has been the whole time, most of the time this is still new to us in terms of having people listen with a live studio audience. Come to the Twitch, come hang out with us. It's the same vibes, except most of the time it's just me. And yeah, subscribe, hit that T3 if you feel like it, and you get access to this every week. So today, that ends our podcast today, episode 4. Yeah, we're gamers. What about it? If you don't like it, that's too fucking bad. PC's better than console in a lot of ways, and I hope that makes you mad. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.